And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Always Pressing PGA DFS podcast, presenting the 2022 AT&T Byron Nelson from wonderful Texas. Wonderful Texas. Getting ready for the PGA Championship next week. You can check out the podcast on Twitter at AlwaysPressDFS. I am on Twitter at BDentric, and my co-host is always on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's a fun weekend at TPC Potomac for the Wells Fargo. Before we get into just the winner and any storylines, what do you think of the golf course for a PGA event? Because people are saying it needs to be a staple now.
Yeah, I mean it's a good golf course just from the fact that it's difficult. It's definitely different than a lot of the TPCs we get. The weather, I think, played a huge factor. Yeah, I mean, it was terrible weather for pretty much the first 3 days. I think Thursday was okay, but Friday was not great, and then Saturday was, just about as miserable as you can get. Cold and raining. That's like the worst case scenario. I don't think it was probably the only golfers in the whole area that were playing golf that day. Everybody else was staying home. So, but yeah, otherwise, I don't mind the golf course. I think it's fine. It kind of reminds me of Jack's Place a little bit.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, I can't either. I can't think of it
totally
either.
Over there in Ohio. I'm totally blanking on it right now.
Yeah, it's in Columbus. But just from the perspective of like the you got to hit fairways.
Merrifield
Village.
Merrifield Village. Yes, there we go. I'm sorry, I had to get it. I had to figure it out.
So yeah, I wouldn't mind to see it on tour. More. It's definitely different, and I don't mind different ever. For the most
it's
part.
Funny you mentioned Jack's Place because literally when Jason Day was up 7 on the first day, that was my first thought. He always destroys Jack's Place. He's a native of the area.
That's
true. I'm like, maybe it's a course that should have fit him well, but he's been playing so Jason Day-like. I was like, well, I can't trust you, and he kind of faded away. But
there wasn't a kind of fade away. What did he end up finishing?
No, Joel Dahman didn't do a kind of fade away. Joel Dahman finished outside the top 60, I think.
Well, Jason Day finished 15th after shooting 63 the first day, and then actually was leading. Saturday was terrible for him. 79 on Saturday. What did Dahman do? Dahman finished
bad.
So did Chappell.
Yeah, Chappie. I had a lot of Chappie too. Chappie, I think, was 9 over on Sunday.
Yeah, or Saturday.
Yeah.
He shot 79 Saturday and then 75 Sunday. Yeah, because I was pissed. I had him initially in the lineup. I took him out for Adam Long, who missed the cut, and it wouldn't have
saved you money.
Money. I cashed with 4-6 this week. Yeah. But otherwise, it's a good tournament. And, one thing you say about Max Homa, like you said earlier, difficult tracks he tends to do well at, but he's also apparently like a mutter, man. He likes the bad weather. He's played just fine in it both days.
It didn't phase him at all, because he won at Quail, tough course, Riviera, tough course, tough field. So people can't even say, well, this field was weak. No, he's beating the big boys too. He just hasn't won a major yet, which I think we've seen him get closer, at the Masters and stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if Max has that pedigree he's not going to go on win 25 tournaments or something like that, but he's going to probably poke away at 1, maybe 2 every once in a while some seasons, and he'll sneak out a major here. I wouldn't be shocked just because he can grind it pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, especially at a track tougher track like U.S. Open.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting because he can hit it far enough. His short game's pretty darn good. And they said, they kept saying in his last 2 wins now that that was the biggest thing he's worked on in the offseason was the short game. And it showed because you needed it in events that. When the weather's bad, you got to scramble your butt off, save those pars, and then get the birdies. And he did it. So, it's kudos to him. It was fun because I did get to watch a decent amount on Thursday, I guess, now I think about it. And watching Joel Dahman just throw darts. Absolute darts all over that golf course. It was impressive, and he missed a bunch of putts. He could have been 1400 par. It was one of those where you think he's playing a scramble, and it's ridiculous what he was doing. But I didn't see his weekend performance, and wow, I don't know what happened there, but rough go.
Not a mutter.
No, not a mutter. That's a good point. That's why I laugh at our course because every day here, pretty soon it starts getting windy, and last week we had one day in 30-something mile-an-hour winds. And I'm gonna go play golf, so I went and played golf, and I tend to shoot better in the windy conditions because I have to focus more, I think, than just gripping and ripping it. So it's interesting, but it's a grind. It's a mental grind. So what these guys did was impressive. Lahiri finishing high, Fitz in a tough tournament got it done again. Cam Young with a nice little Sunday. So any other takeaways? Even Rory somehow at least got his name in the top 10 there.
A little backdoor top 5 for Rory. Yeah. I don't. I'm ready to move on. Let's move to this week, and then we just one more week to the PGA Championship. So
yeah, one more week till Phil returns, and I cannot wait for that because again, we haven't talked about Phil, so we might have to talk about him next week. We'll do like a little Phil deep dive because now Sergio Garcia. What about Serge? Did you see Serge comments? I want to fuck off this tour.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I just a few more weeks I have to deal with you assholes. I mean, I guess they're just not going to have rules officials or any rules on the
exactly. Like, what's it, a free for all now, Serge? Like, what are we doing here? Is there a cart girl too? Like, bringing out beers for you? Or
understand? Yeah, I'm with you. It blows my mind, but that's Sergio.
That's Sergio.
I mean,
that's what he does. Yeah. That's what he does, and he thinks, because he's won a Masters, he can kind of do these things, and that's just not how it goes, buddy. I hate to even Tiger Woods, as much as we think he can, probably can't get away with this. So just learn to live with it. But we'll talk about that stuff next week. Should be a lot of fun. But this week, AT&T Byron Nelson, and it's going to be sneaky better than I think most think, and it's been pretty obviously said is next week's PGA Championship is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it's a short little trek over there. So guys are kind of getting in some last swings over here at Craig Ranch, which we saw last year for the first time. So what do you got for event history?
Yeah, it really, I mean, as far as course history goes, there's the one tournament, like you said, first time was last year. KH Lee won 25 under, 3 shots over Sam Burns. As far as, tournament history, which doesn't matter after that KH Lee win, Sung Kang was the winner in 2019. They didn't have it in 2020. 23 under, 2 shots over Every and Piercy. That's back-to-back Koreans have won this golf tournament. Aaron Wise, 2018. Billy Horschel, 2017. Sergio's won the tournament twice. Stephen Bowditch won the tournament in 2015. Just need to go ahead and mention that.
Yeah, the good old Bodo. This is one of the I wish he'd just get like a full-time exemption as a past winner to come play, and it's just for entertainment's sakes. But I think for everybody's sake, he just doesn't do it. It's my only guess. But good old Bodo. You mentioned this is the second year now at TPC Craig Ranch. So we'll see how that goes. A little less than 7,500 yards, about 7,468 as it says on the scorecard. Par 72, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, 10 par 4s as usual. Bent grass greens, Zoysia fairways, which are very sticky, which will help prevent a lot of rollout. The fairways are wide with a capital W. Like they're super, like they were hit about 70 to 72% of the time last year. The rough, the Bermuda rough, not very penal, like 2 inches. And they're going to tell you there's water in play on like 13 or 14 holes, but it's just on the course. It's not really in play. If you're hitting the water, then you shouldn't have played anyways, probably. Just put it that way. It's just not your day. So fairways are rather easy to hit. Greens are very large. Scrambling's easy. They're not super complicated. So if they do miss greens, you're good to go. The greens are so large, I guess 3-putt avoidance could come into play. Not really a focus for me on this one. It's more so you got to crush the par 5s because they're not super long par 5s. A lot of people get there in 2. As a total last year, the eagle rate was 12% on these par 5 holes. So you got to capitalize on those. A lot of the approaches between the par 5s and 5 of the 10 par 4s are 400 to 450. So a lot of your approaches in are like 200 yards. Or 450 to 500, sorry. Your approaches in are 200 yards. So that's a key stat as well. Looking about, approach game, 200 yards in. Birdie or better is huge because it's going to be a birdie fest. You mentioned the score last year. A lot of it was because of the rain helped make it soft. It's supposed to be like in the low 90s. So we'll see if it's firm and fast. That could change things a little bit, which could make it interesting. But overall, it's a TPC course. They're meant to score a lot. And then as long as it's not windy, which it doesn't look to be too windy, I think we get a little, maybe not 25 under, but we're talking high teens probably this year.
I'm with you.
What stats are you looking at?
A lot. I mean, you kind of hit on it a lot. Par 5 scoring matters. Birdie or better matters. Obviously, we're not worried about off the tee as far as accuracy goes, but distance will play a factor. And then, you got to get a hot putter.
Yep. Get that hot putter going. So let's talk about some guys that might need a hot putter. Hideki's in the group, but he's in the next range. 10K and above. We got 4 guys this weekend. I think I saw it's like 8 of the top 20, or there's a good chunk of great players.
It's a good field, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good field. We get the return of Scotty Scheffler, first time since winning the Masters. He's 10-9, leading the way here. You got JT at 10-6. DJ fresh off his marriage and honeymoon to Paulina at 10-2. Jordan at 10-1, the Texas man. It used to be Jordan Spieth's tournament, and then random showed up, but now some big boys are showing up. So Jordan has to kind of share the spotlight. What do you like in this 10K range?
Well, he's a big AT&T guy, anyways. They pay him a lot of money every year. I mean, I mean, Scotty Scheffler, to me, it's like, especially in my model, he's head and shoulders above the rest. But there are cases to be made for the next three, especially with accuracy off the tee not mattering as much. The next three haven't been hitting it that great off the tee to begin with. So, you know, if I'm making 150 lineups, I'm grabbing a piece of all four of these guys. You know, if I'm in a 20 max, I would at least have probably two lineups with all four of these guys. I think they all four can win. Scotty's my one pick up top, and if I was going to rank them, I would say, you know, Scotty, JT, Spieth, DJ.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. Like, I star mine on Fantasy National who I'm liking, and I usually start them all. I'm trying to like discipline myself a bit, and I didn't star DJ, but I can't argue he's 12th on my model. Like, what am I arguing here?
Yeah.
But JT's number 1 on my model. Scotty's number 3. I still think in my mind Scotty's number 1 just on recent form. But you know, even Spieth's 11th. Like, these dudes are all the head of the class here. We're talking about par 5 scoring. 3 of them are in the top 7 in par 5 scoring. DJ's 28th out of the last 24 rounds, but we know he's much better than that. And he's starting to play better. We talked about it at his last tournament at the Heritage. Didn't really pan out, but like, there's something about, like, he's coming. It's coming for DJ. Like, and you might want to get on that train before it really goes. And because he rates out really well on most other stats. So I'm with you. I would probably go Chef. I'd almost go Spieth over JT, I think, but it's close. Like, JT's first in my model. So what am I arguing with here? And then DJ at 4. But these are all very, very good options. And just the easy answer is play them all, as Jesse said, because they're all outstanding options.
I think they all have really good winning equity myself. I mean, and the prices aren't terrible with all four of them. So it's doable this week to comfortably roster. You know, obviously just one of the four. You're not going to roster all four of them, but on the same lineup.
Most definitely. 9K range, we got Hideki at 99. He's taking a little breather as well. Xander, 97 off of riding Patrick Cantlay's coattails. Sam Burns at 95. Willie Z at 94. Neiman at 93. Brooksy down to 92, which is probably right, but in this field kind of seems interesting. And then Fleetwood at 9,000. So what do you like on the 9K range?
Start with, for me, Burns. Obviously finished second here last year. And, you know, was coming off the Masters miscut, whatever. He did win the Valspar right before the Masters, a couple weeks before it. He's played solid golf. I think he's a good play. Will Zalatoris, I expect him to be, you know, pretty popular, $9,400. He finished 17th here last year. Hasn't missed a cut since November of last year. Hasn't played a whole heck of a lot this year like he did last year, but still solid finishes, 6th at the Masters. You know, has a 2nd at the Farmers, so solid as far as that goes. And then last but not least, well, 2 more. Neiman would be another one. You know, he's steadily getting better. He did win the Genesis, obviously, earlier this year, missed the cut, and then has played some solid golf since then. So I like him. And then Fleetwood at 9,000. I mean, the model likes him. He didn't play here last year, but talk about a guy who's getting better. Going back to the Players' Championship, 22nd. The next week at the Valspar, 16th. Masters, 14th. Heritage, 10th. So seems to be trending in the right direction. The problem typically with Fleetwood is the putter, and so it gives me a little bit of pause. Yeah, at a putting contest, you know what I mean? Like, if this was last week, would love Tommy Fleetwood. This week, I just like him, and I think I don't see him missing the cut, but it's just hard for me to see him winning, and he doesn't have to win necessarily at that price, but you need to get him in the top 10.
Yeah. And I like Fleets too. He's 14th in my model, and I was right. I jumped on board for Heritage because the same things you mentioned, the improvements we've seen. He's starting to get rolling in the last 24 rounds. He's 9th strokes gained total, 8th par 5 scoring. He's 12th in DK scoring. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, on a birdie fest, can he do it? We'll see. But I'll have a couple sprinkles of Fleets for sure. Neiman's interesting, as you said. Willie Z's 2nd in my model. He's just crushing things. If he can putt it, he could probably win this thing. And when we get to the DK odds at the end, he's ahead of guys like DJ and stuff in the odds. So people like some Willie Z this week. I like Sam Burns a lot. I'm really curious how popular he's going to be. I think he's going to be very popular. Runner-up here last year, coming in playing really good golf. Texas boy. If he's on, this is a great price for me on Sam Burns. He's 9th in par 5 scoring in this field. So like some Sam on this one. And then Hideki could be the sleeper. We talked about time and time again how he kind of gets overlooked in tournaments for DK purposes. Like, you got those guys at 10K that people are going to like, and then they drop down to Willie Z and company. You got Hideki, 6th in my model. He's playing great. 4th strokes gained total, 10th par 5, 4th proximity of 200 plus. fourth in birdie or better, fifth in DK scoring all over the last 24 rounds. Like he could sneak in there and be really interesting at $9,900 at hopefully low ownership. It's one of those if you want to go kind of Starsy Scrubsy, take a 10K guy and max him with Hideki instead of a guy like Willie Z, and you'll already probably be pretty darn different. So just something to think about when you're building out those lineups with these guys that almost all of them 9K and above have pretty solid arguments to win this thing. It's just not like recent weeks at least. 8K range, you got Adam Scott at 87, Gooch 86, Vegas 84, Kokrak 83, Jason Day 82, Aaron Wise at 81, Cam Champ and Adam Hadwin at 8,000. Who you got?
Yeah, it seems like again like we don't have very much. I don't know what we're doing with the pricing here on DraftKings, but I feel like there's usually more guys in the 8K range. I'm gonna be a huge fan of Taylor Gooch this week. I've got a feeling. So he played here last year, finished 39th. Last start was the Masters, finished 14th. He missed the cut at the Players Championship, but we all know about the weather there. I don't know that he's going to really be highly up on models, so I don't know how highly owned he's going to be. I mean, where just for example on your model, where do you
22nd?
Yeah,
He'll be in play for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's obviously miscut at the Players, miscut at the Genesis, but otherwise pretty solid golf. And with that 7th at the API and then the 14th at the Masters, just want to kind of go back to him. And then Vegas at 84, my model loves him.
Me too. He's fourth in mine.
Ninth here last year. I mean, he's played really solid golf. Played last week, finished 15th. 18th.
Isn't he a Texas guy? I know he's not. He's obviously like Venezuela or something. Isn't he like? I know Munoz and Ortiz went to Texas, but I feel like Johnny V has Texas roots too.
I don't know if he does or not, but he's got some really solid finishes. 15th, 18th, 4th in his last 3 starts. That's pretty solid. Aaron Wise at 8,100. Played here last year, made the cut, finished 55th. Not great, but come off a 6th place finish at the Mexico Open, 21st at the Heritage before that. I think he's fine. And then Hadwin at 8,000. Another guy who's played really good golf of late. Had 3 straight top 10s going into the Heritage and then finished 26th. So hitting a lot of greens. Accuracy off the tee hasn't been great, but again, we're not super worried about that here. And he can go low. I mean, obviously he's a guy who shot 59 or 58 on tour before. So,
well, I have the same guys checked off, so I'll try to add a couple more little wrinkles here. I like Gooch a lot, and one thing that's fun with him is we know how good he can be, how up and down he can be. So definitely probably more tournament than cash play. But he's a massive DK scorer. Like he rates like anywhere from 40 to 60 in a lot of the categories I'm looking at, but he's 17th in DK scoring. So he gets the job done where it matters most, and he crushes par 5s. So that's the 2 things that really stand out for us this week. But I love Vegas. 4th in my model, 6th in approach, 10th strokes gained total, 5th in driving distance, 1st in par 5 scoring, 6th in birdie or better, and 2nd in DK scoring over the last 24 rounds. He is playing really good golf right now. So eventually that other shoe is going to drop. It's going to suck, but I'm going to keep riding the wave for now because if it's not penal to spray it a little bit and he can still bomb it, I like our chances with Vegas, at least making the cut. And you talk about guys that can go low. He's like a first-round leader extraordinaire. Yeah. So that could be a fun one with Johnny V. I got Wise down here as well. Then one thing on Hadwin, even though he finished 26th at a Heritage, but we talked about him a lot for that episode, I know, because of how well he had been playing. 7th still in my model. Even with that, he's 5th in this field in birdie or better, 11th in DK scoring, 11th in par 5s. He's not a bomber, but he knows how to get there in 3 and get the job done. So I like Hadwin as well at $8,000. So we're definitely on the same page there. 75 to 79, who you looking at?
Mav Mcneely at 78. Didn't play here last year, but has played really well of late. I mean, he hasn't missed a cut in forever. The other thing about him is he typically does well on par 5s. He will have some terrible holes, but at $7,800 worth a shot. Kuchar, 17th here last year, made the cut last week, didn't have a good weekend, finished 49th, but was 2 straight top 3s before that, including the Texas Open roughly a month ago where he finished 2nd back in Texas. Munoz, like you mentioned before, Texas dude. He made the cut here last year and has made a bunch in a row. Not necessarily great finishes, but we're down here in the 7Ks, so anything inside the top 25 is good, and that's pretty much what he's been doing, at least getting inside the top 30 of late. Mito, I imagine he'll be popular. He usually is. 3 straight made cuts for him. He didn't play here last year. I think he's fine. KH Lee.
Can I say one thing on
Sure.
Mito real quick?
Yeah.
just for fun because I want to play devil's advocate because I've been fading him when everyone's been playing him because I get the love, like he can be great, but if he like I'll play chalk something else than Mito. And this could be totally just me looking at stats and they might not matter because golf is golf. But in this field over the last 24 rounds, he's 92nd in par 5 scoring, 112th in birdie or better, and 92nd in DK scoring.
Yeah, it's not great.
So I just want to throw that out there for those that might be super in love. Like you could sprinkle him. I just wouldn't go heavy on Mito is all I'm saying.
He does have 3 straight top 30s though too. I mean, he's
obviously it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't that high at the Heritage, but the Texas Open he was 24% owned at $8,100. I expect him to be kindly high. And then KH Lee, obviously defending champion, $7,500. Finished 25th last week. Had 3 straight missed cuts before that, but had a bunch in a row before. A bunch of made cuts in a row before those 3 straight missed cuts. So, take the 3 straight missed cuts for what it's worth. He did miss the cut at the Texas Open. One of those was the Masters. That's fine. And then the Heritage, but 25th last week. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's okay. I'm not like in love. And then Bubba at 75. It is. You just, I mean, it just depends on if he likes the track or not. I don't know. And he's been very up and down this year with a lot of, in my opinion, more downs than ups. But at $7,500, I mean, if I'm playing a bunch of lineups, I'm probably going to put Bubba in some.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. If you talk win equity, a guy like Bubba's got win equity compared to some other dudes around him for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I like that approach. For me in this range, I'm going to keep going back to Alexander Noren, who's playing really good golf, and no one rosters him. $7,900, 19th in my model, 11th on approach, 7th off the tee, 13th in par 5s. I'll play some Noren at 79. Davis Riley at 77 is interesting as well. 7th in birdie or better, 9th in DK scoring in this field. He's 25th in my model. I like Munoz a lot. He's 9th in my model. He's striking it well. He can get tons of birdies, and the Texas narrative does not stink with him. You got TPC Lee, as you mentioned. He just crushes TPC courses. It's what he does. So sometimes you just throw the stat model out. He's like 87th in my model, but he loves him a TPC course. The 2 other guys down here that you didn't mention that I'm kind of curious on is Kevin Kisner. He's 48th in my model. I get it. He's a great putter. So if it is a putting contest, it could be interesting. 30th in par 5 scoring, 20th in birdie or better in this field. It's like not a super long course, especially if it's warm and it starts rolling out a lot. He could be one of those guys that comes in like 4% rostered and like sneak in a top 15 for you. So I think Kiz is interesting. And then Keith Mitchell is a boomer bust tournament guy. He's 5th in my model, 1st off the tee, 2nd in par 5 scoring, 6th in proximity over 200, 18th in birdie or better, 16th in DK. His stat line's like Johnny Vegas light when I look at the stat lines. I trust Johnny Vegas more, and he's almost $1,000 more. But I think Killer Keith could be very interesting at $7,500 in this field. I'm hoping he's not very popular, but we shall see. 7K to 74. There's a lot of names here, Jesse. Maybe not a lot of good names, but there's a lot of names.
I'm with you. Kitayama at 7,400 there at the top. 15th last week, 2nd at the Mexico Open. He came back really well on Sunday with a good round. He had started really solid, didn't play good on the Saturday round, which was terrible conditions. So we'll give him a pass on that. I wish I would have played him last week. I only played one lineup and he didn't make the cut, but. CT Pan, another guy, they're at 7,300. He's made 5 cuts in a row, 15th last week, 29th at the Mexico Open. So trending in the right direction for him. Aaron Rye at 7,200 is a funny conversation with some of my friends because I played him last week. He trunk slammed, started really well.
So good too.
Yeah, you would think the guy with 2 gloves and head covers would be a mutter, right? Yeah. It's not the case. So,
well, I'm not going to. Okay, never mind. I was going to make some jokes, but maybe some listeners have head covers and 2 gloves, so I'll be nice.
I doubt it. I doubt many people have that combo. Now I can see the head covers.
Yeah. It's I've never seen 2 gloves in person. Let's put it that way.
I've not either. I mean, like I get it in the rain.
Yeah, but I'll say that's the only time I've seen it. Let me rephrase that. Here in Monterey area, when it has rain, guys put rain gloves on.
Right.
I've seen those, but like legit 2 golf gloves.
Right.
I've never seen it. It's like Kurt Warner stuff.
Like literally, there's Tommy 2 gloves. Tommy, what's his name? And then Aaron Rye, as far as I know, that's ever played on tour that wears 2 gloves.
Pretty interesting.
Anyway, I'm giving him a pass on that. We're going back to Aaron Rye this week, especially at $7,200. Sean Norris, for whatever reason, the model loves him. He's been playing over on the European Tour. I was very confused by this. He's coming off a win his last time out, which was back in March. I mean, I don't know if he's been playing on the Korn Ferry Tour or what, but the only thing I have are starts for him on the European Tour. Playing really well, hit a bunch of greens, and maybe it was just skewed because of that. His putter was good, though. He got up and down a lot in this win that he had, like I said, about 2 month and a half ago on the European Tour. Patton Kizzire at 7,100, finished third here last year. Coming off a 26th at the Heritage Open. He's been just playing really kind of solid golf for Patton Kizzire. He did miss the cut at the Texas Open, but made a bunch of cuts in a row before that. Brandon Wu at 7,000. He's a guy I mentioned a couple weeks ago. He almost won the Mexico Open and then missed the cut last week. But I think going back to him this week is fine. And then Scott Stallings at 7,000. Finished third here last year. 2 straight missed cuts for him, but just simply for the third last year, I mean, it's Scott Stallings. He could finish third again or miss the cut. It wouldn't surprise me either way.
Which is fine at his price point for sure.
Right, $7,000.
Does Fantasy Labs use Euro Tour data?
They do pull the Euro Tour data with the greens and regulation, driving accuracy.
It's got to be it because like Sean Norris,
stats.
You said he rates that well for you. He's like 135th in my model. So I'm
right because he's got no strokes gained, and
exactly.
you're pulling the strokes gained and then DraftKings,
exactly.
Obviously. And this is just looking at anyways. I'm
not arguing. I'm not disagreeing.
No, I'm just saying
I'm just trying to let the listeners know hey
they pull the European stats in. Yeah,
I this is no slight to Moose. I'm surprised he doesn't.
Yeah,
just because of everything else this site does, I'm surprised he doesn't.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think that and Korn Ferry Tour stats,
would be huge.
To me, they would be just as easy to grab as the PGA Tour stats, right? I mean, like
you would think so.
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, so I mean,
exactly. I'm not smart enough. That's why I pay to use their service.
Right.
But
that's why I'm not the one coding this. Yeah.
Exactly. But it'd be so nice if you could just throw that in there because I'd like to be able to be like, okay, I want to see what Jesse sees on Sean Norris. Like we've talked about like a ton of dudes. Remember like Billy Ho was crushing it on the Euro Tour and he came back but his stats looked like crap, but we knew just because it was Billy Ho. That'd be nice to be pencil that out a little bit. But I guess it gives you an edge too if you know and people don't. But back to this, $7,400. I love Kitayama with you there. He's 8th in my model. He's just been crushing it, and the worst part of his games around the green shouldn't matter here. So that's really good. A couple other guys though. Matt Neesmith at 73, 16th in my model. He's 12th on approach. He's 15th in par 5 scoring, which if I'm getting lower down, I either want like a bomber or a really good an efficient par 5 guy. Because I read a stat, Burns finished second last year. He was 15 under in par 5s. You have to crush par 5s. There's just no denying it. They're all gettable. So you need to be a good par 5 scorer. So I like Neesmith at 73. CH3 is interesting. He's not crushing it in par 5s, but he's playing steady all across the board right now. I just don't know if he's going to be steady enough in a birdie fest. That's my only concern with him. He's 27th in my model. Lipsky is a guy I'll keep going back to because he's like that Korn Ferry grad type stuff where he can birdie in bunches. He can also trunk slam, so I think he's a good tournament play at 71. I'll go back to Patton Kizzire. It's ironic he missed that Texas Open because he crushed Texas last year, destroyed it. I played him all the time. He's $7,100, 15th in my model, 18th on approach. And he's 24th in proximity at 200 plus. So I'll go right back to Gazar. And then I have Brandon Wu as well at 7K. I'm with you on that one. He's 17th in my model, 18th in par 5 scoring, 13th in DK scoring over the last 24 rounds. So I'll jump on that train, given caveat. A lot of those rounds are in piss poor fields and birdie fest, but he's getting the job done. That's all that matters. 6K range, Jesse, what do you got?
Not a whole lot. I'm not a huge fan. Maybe you can talk me into some guys. I'm going to butcher this name. Ju Hung Kim.
Yeah, he's not on my list, but sure.
$6,900. The model likes him. He's coming off a miscut at the Qatar Masters the last time out. I don't know. Doc Redman finished 9th here last year. Missed the cut last week. Had 2 straight made cuts before that. Course history for Doc there. Charles Schwartzel, 6,700. Third here last year. Apparently there's like a 17-way tie for third last year. I mean, he's got so many miscuts this year. He's got way more miscuts than he does made cuts. But again, course history. Swafford, I don't necessarily mind him. He did miss the cut here last year. He's made 4 in a row. I'm not a huge fan of this range. Do you have anybody? Because I'd love to be talked into somebody.
I have a couple, but am I in love with them? That's the question. The ones I have stars next to at least kind of investigate more, and it's based on one, just pure narrative street. Bo Hosler, 66 back in Texas. Especially if it's windy. I'll play that game. He's 31st in birdie or better, 33rd in DK scoring, 37th in proximity, 36th in driving distance. So he's not like crushing anything in particular, but we know he can go low if he has to. We've seen him play pretty good golf of late. Last couple of tournaments, not the best, but he had a good run there going. So Bo at 66, Bramlett at 65. I'll go to. He finished, I think, top 5 here last year or something. He finished very, very well. He's 9th in driving distance in this field, 26th in par 5. Two of the stats I kind of want if these guys are down here.
Did you say Bramlett?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry, Joseph Bramlett. Yeah.
Yeah, he finished 7th last year.
Yeah, he had a good finish. So I like Bramlett at 65. This one's interesting. So I got to actually click on him so I can actually mention his last few tournaments. But Callum Tarrant is a guy that's been like quote unquote popping in models. Finished 56 at Wells Fargo, 61st at Mexico, but those were due to weekend trunk slams. Like he was playing really, really well, and his best stats were putting in both those tournaments. He was near the top of the leaderboard after Thursday, I believe, this past week when he was playing. And when you look at him,
65 on Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, 8th in driving distance, 28th in birdie or better. So if you're going for a guy to go super low and he stays out of trouble, at $6,400, he's a guy that I don't think is bad in tournaments. But yeah, that's all I got down here right now. Like I usually have a bunch that I can try to like talk myself into.
Yeah, I'm not feeling
it. Not a ton. I got like 3 or 4 guys checked off, and there might be more as the week goes on, but that's all I got for now.
Pat Perez would be another guy that I would mention at 67.
Yeah, good old flat bill. Good. I could see him having some fun in Texas.
Yeah.
But all right, let's recap things. Top play, 10K and above.
Scheffler.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to fight you on that one. Okay, if I have to pick someone besides Scheffler, I'll say Spieth, and I'm not a big Spieth guy, so let's go there. 9K.
Burns.
Yeah, I'll go with Matsuyama to be different, but Burns is my top play as well. 8K.
Gooch.
I am going to go with, where did I have? Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas, baby. 75 to 79.
Mav Mcneely.
I will go with Alexander Noren for me. 7K to 74.
Kitayama.
I'm going to go with Patton Kazire at 71. And then if you're punting, where are you going?
I'm going to say, it's tough. Doc Redman, maybe. I don't know.
I'll go to the Bram wagon, Joseph Bramlett, but ideally I'd like to stay out of here unless you're getting real cute with, like I said, if you go that 10K guy in like a Matsuyama or something, you're probably have to take one of them. So Just kind of pick your poisons is the best way I would say it. If you're playing cash this week, Jesse, where are you starting things out? Because we've been getting more and more cash questions in the Discord, which is these boys like playing their cash games.
Yeah, I think, Vegas is borderline there. Hadwin would be another guy that I would consider. And then, yeah, it's a little tough after, I don't really have another one that I would say is cash worthy. Kitayama is kind of there close, yeah. But it's not like I don't have enough on him to say like I feel like he's going to make the cut for sure.
And I will say one thing: on a week where last year's cut line was -5, that makes cash really difficult because you can have guys go back-to-back 70s, which is not bad, or a 69 and a 71, and still go home. So they didn't play bad golf; they just didn't putt well enough. Yeah. But for me, I'll go with Willie Z at 94. I'll pair him with Adam Hadwin, as you mentioned, at 8,000. And then I'll throw in a splash of CH3 at 72. That's where it's not pretty by any means. If you're starting a tournament, what 3 plays like a GPP lineup?
Scheffler, Kitayama, and Sean Norris.
Sean Norris. I hope that one pans out. Like I'm in my 20 max, I'll make like 2 Sean Norris's just for Jesse over here because
he's gonna trunk slam.
Yeah, now we're screwed. He's
gonna go first round leader trunk slam.
Hey, at least I had something to enjoy for 24 hours. That's good. For me, I love that Scheffler. I'll mix it up here. I'll go Matsuyama with Willie Z and Johnny Vegas. That's where I'll start. And I'll take Willie Z. I'll let you guys pick your guy. Give me Mats, Vegas, Keith Mitchell. I'll go with those 3 for a tournament. All right. Who you got winning this thing? Because I will say the odds are funny. You got Scheffler at 700, JT or 7-1, JT 9-1. Then Willie's 14, DJ's 18, Xander's 18, Spieth's 20. So it definitely does not correlate with DK pricing.
Yeah, Gooch at 45, not terrible. Leishman at 65. I know I didn't mention him before, but Leishman just usually wins out of nowhere when he does. And something longer like Kitayama's 100.
Yeah, I meant to ask that when we were doing a recap right there because I saw Leash's name. Like, we did not mention Leash, and he's like, he's not
It's
playing
Texas.
great golf, but
He,
yeah, if it
if
gets
it's
windy,
windy, yeah, I'm with you.
yeah,
But he's not. I mean, he's been very up and down, and he did not play very well last week. But of course, that was a little bit different weather or whatever. So
for sure. A couple other ones like I'm just maybe just blindly falling in love, but Hideki at 35 just screams value to me. So that's a little interesting for me. Other than that, though, yeah, not a ton I'm in love with besides some of the guys you mentioned. If like you want a long shot, where's he at down here? Matty Wolf's down here at 130. He actually played well a week or
he
two ago.
started. Well, did you see his? This is going to be a little bit of a sidetrack here, but did you see his like post round press conference
about
after
just wanting to have fun or something
yeah,
like that?
about just going out and having a good time?
Yeah.
It sounds to me like he got to a really dark place, which
It happens.
is unfortunate. And
Yeah. Glad he got help.
yeah, I'm with you. And it's something that's not talked about as far as with these guys, especially being a professional, anything that's in sports. There's some places where I'm
but
sure
that spotlight out there, like people make fun of Grayson Murray a lot, and he deserves a lot of it. But he was an alcoholic because of a lot of this shit. So
yeah. I mean,
there's stuff that'll push you to a wrong place real quick.
Right, I'm with you.
He's also an idiot too with a lot of other things, but I guarantee you a lot of the stuff didn't help the cause.
Right,
Put it
right.
that way. I wanted to mention this though because DK kind of cleaned up their top bar on where things are. So they have the first round leaders right there. Johnny Vegas is 55-1. Just gonna throw that out there, nice and cheap.
I like it.
Sebastian 65-1. These are dudes that do this more often than not. And KH Lee is 80-1. So if you want to just have some week Monday fun, or Thursday round one fun. I'm trying to find a long shot for you here because like Kitayama's 100 on just Mark Hubbard's a good first round guy at plus 110. If he's feeling it, he goes low. Bo Hosser's at 130. So there's some long odds, but just Vegas and Munoz alone, those are dudes that love to go low. So something to think about there. Any final thoughts with the Byron Nelson, Jesse, as we get ready for the next major next weekend?
I don't, man. I'm ready for the PGA Championship.
Should be a fun one.
About that.
Looking forward to it. It's Shuffler's favorite golf course for those that haven't been notified 12 times yet. So that'll be a great conversation point for next week. And we will talk Phil because we have to. It's coming. It's going to be great. The Live golf course, not the Saudi tour. It's the Live golf course, golf tournament, golf whatever. We got to figure that one out. But until next time, make sure you follow Jesse on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. I'm at BD Entrick, the podcast at Always Press DFS. And this was your Byron Nelson preview. Catch you all later.